The story of the Roman Empire is one of the most remarkable tales in human history, a saga of ambition, conquest, innovation, and transformation that shaped the very foundations of the Western world. From humble beginnings as a small settlement along the banks of the Tiber River, Rome grew to become a vast dominion, stretching from the misty highlands of Scotland to the sun-baked deserts of Mesopotamia, from the Atlantic coasts of Spain to the banks of the Nile. It was an empire of dazzling cultural achievements, monumental architecture, epic battles, and complex political intrigue. A civilization whose legacy endures to this day. Our journey begins long before the crowning of emperors, in the legendary days when Rome was still a kingdom. According to tradition, Rome was founded in 753 BCE by Romulus and Remus, twin brothers who, as infants, were said to have been suckled by a she-wolf. The reality is less mythic, but equally fascinating. The early Romans were Latin-speaking people, living in a patchwork of villages on 7 hills. Over time, these communities united, forming the nucleus of what would become the city of Rome. Rome's first rulers were kings, but after a series of tyrannical monarchs, the Romans overthrew their last king, Tarquin the Proud, in 509 BCE, and established a republic. The Roman Republic was a unique experiment in governance. Power rested with the Senate, composed of Rome's aristocratic families, and with elected magistrates, including 2 consuls who shared executive authority. This system was far from democratic by modern standards, but it fostered a sense of shared responsibility and civic pride among Rome's citizens. The Republic's early centuries were marked by internal struggles between the patricians, the old aristocracy, and the plebeians, the common people. Through a series of social and political reforms, including the creation of the office of tribune, the plebeians gradually gained more rights and a greater voice in government. Meanwhile, Rome's military prowess grew. Through alliances, treaties, and relentless campaigning, Rome conquered neighboring peoples, the Etruscans to the north, the Samnites in central Italy, and the Greeks of Magna Graecia in the south. By the 3rd century BCE, Rome was the dominant power on the Italian peninsula, but its ambitions reached further still. The great test of Roman might came with the Punic Wars, a series of titanic struggles against Carthage, a wealthy city-state in North Africa. The most famous of these wars, the Second Punic War, saw the Carthaginian general Hannibal lead his elephants across the Alps to invade Italy, a feat that stunned the ancient world. For more than a decade, Hannibal ravaged the Italian countryside, but ultimately, Roman resilience prevailed. Under the leadership of Scipio Africanus, the Romans carried the fight to North Africa and defeated Hannibal at the Battle of Zama in 202 BCE. With Carthage defeated, Rome emerged as the supreme power of the Western Mediterranean. In the centuries that followed, the Republic expanded its reach, conquering Greece, Asia Minor, Egypt, and Gaul. The spoils of conquest enriched Roman society, but they also brought new challenges. Vast wealth flowed into the city, but it was unequally distributed, leading to social tensions. The influx of slaves and foreign peoples changed the character of Roman society, and the traditional values of discipline and frugality gave way to luxury and decadence. Political life became increasingly unstable. Ambitious generals like Gaius Marius and Lucius Cornelius Sulla used their armies to seize power, setting dangerous precedents. The Senate, once the heart of the Republic, became dominated by factions, and violence became a tool of political competition. Amid this turmoil, a new figure rose to prominence: Julius Caesar. Brilliant, charismatic, and ruthless, Caesar built his reputation as a military commander in Gaul, where he led a series of campaigns that brought the vast region under Roman control. His commentaries on the Gallic War, a masterwork of propaganda, ensured his victories were celebrated in Rome. But when the Senate tried to curb his power, Caesar marched his army across the Rubicon River in 49 BCE, igniting a civil war. After a series of hard-fought battles, Caesar emerged victorious and was appointed dictator for life. Caesar's rule was marked by sweeping reforms, but his concentration of power alarmed many. On the Ides of March 44 BCE, he was assassinated by a group of senators who hoped to restore the Republic. Instead, his death plunged Rome into further chaos. Power struggles ensued between his supporters and opponents, culminating in another civil war. Eventually, Caesar's adopted heir, Octavian, known to history as Augustus, emerged as the unchallenged master of the Roman world. With Augustus, the Republic gave way to empire. In 27 BCE, he cleverly presented himself as the first citizen, while in reality holding absolute power. He reformed the administration, stabilized the frontiers, and ushered in a period of relative peace known as the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. Under his rule, and that of his successors, the empire reached its greatest extent. Roman roads, aqueducts, and cities spread across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East, bringing Roman law, culture, and language to millions. The emperors who followed Augustus varied dramatically. Some, like Trajan and Hadrian, were effective administrators and military leaders, expanding the empire's borders and consolidating its gains. Others, like Nero and Caligula, became infamous for their extravagance and cruelty. The imperial system was always a balancing act. The emperor needed the support of the army, the Senate, and the people. When that balance broke down, disaster often followed. The 3rd century CE was a time of crisis. The empire was beset by internal strife, economic troubles, and relentless invasions by barbarian tribes. Emperors rose and fell with dizzying speed, often meeting violent ends. The frontiers buckled under pressure from Goths, Vandals, and Persians. Plagues and inflation weakened the economy, while the army became more mercenary and less loyal to the state. Yet Rome proved remarkably resilient. In the late 3rd century, Emperor Diocletian undertook sweeping reforms, dividing the empire into eastern and western halves, each ruled by its own emperor. This system, known as the Tetrarchy, brought temporary stability. Diocletian also instituted economic reforms, trying to control inflation and ensure a steady supply of food and goods. It was during this era of transformation that a momentous change occurred: the spread of Christianity. Once a persecuted sect, Christianity gradually gained followers throughout the empire. In the early 4th century, Emperor Constantine embraced the new faith, issuing the Edict of Milan in 313 CE, which granted religious tolerance to Christians. Constantine also moved the imperial capital eastward, founding the city of Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul, which would become the heart of the Eastern Roman Empire. The Western Empire, meanwhile, faced mounting challenges. Barbarian invasions intensified, and Rome itself was sacked by the Visigoths in 410 CE, a shock that reverberated across the ancient world. In 476 CE, the last Western emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed by the Germanic chieftain Odoacer. Historians have traditionally marked this event as the end of the Western Roman Empire. But Rome's legacy was far from extinguished. The Eastern Empire, known as the Byzantine Empire, endured for nearly 1,000 years after the fall of the West, preserving Roman law, culture, and traditions. Byzantine emperors, like Justinian, sought to restore the lost territories of the West and codified Roman law in the Corpus Juris Civilis, a monumental legal achievement that would influence European law for centuries. The Roman Empire's influence is woven deeply into the fabric of the modern world. Its language, Latin, evolved into the Romance languages: Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese, and Romanian. Roman law became the foundation for legal systems across Europe and beyond. Roman engineering, roads, aqueducts, bridges, set standards for centuries. The grandeur of Roman architecture can still be seen in the ruins of the Colosseum, the Pantheon, and countless other monuments. Culturally, the Romans assimilated and adapted the achievements of the peoples they conquered, especially the Greeks, whose art, philosophy, and literature they revered and imitated. The fusion of Greek and Roman traditions, known as Greco-Roman culture, became the cornerstone of Western civilization. Yet the Roman Empire was not merely a force for good. Its conquests brought suffering and destruction to countless peoples. The institution of slavery was central to Roman society, and brutal gladiatorial games were a favored pastime. The empire's wealth was built on the exploitation of its provinces, and its political life was often marked by intrigue, corruption, and violence. Despite these darker aspects, the Roman Empire's capacity for adaptation and integration was remarkable. Its citizenship was eventually extended to all free men within the empire, creating a sense of unity among diverse peoples. Roman cities, with their baths, forums, and theaters, became centers of civic life from Britain to Syria. Religion, too, evolved dramatically. The traditional Roman pantheon, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, and others, coexisted with the gods and goddesses of conquered peoples. Mystery religions, like the cult of Isis or Mithras, flourished. The rise of Christianity, once a persecuted minority faith, ultimately transformed the empire and, through it, the world. The fall of the Western Empire did not mean the end of Roman civilization. The idea of Rome lived on in the Holy Roman Empire of the Middle Ages, in the laws and customs of European nations, and in the very concept of empire itself. The Eastern Empire, or Byzantium, would become a bulwark of Christianity and a center of learning and culture until its fall to the Ottoman Turks in 1453. The story of the Roman Empire is more than the tale of battles and emperors. It is the story of a people who, through ingenuity, ambition, and resilience, built a civilization that has endured in memory and influence for more than 2,000 years. From the words we speak, to the laws we follow, to the architecture that surrounds us, the legacy of Rome is all around us, a reminder of both the heights and the complexities of human achievement. As we reflect on the rise and fall of the Roman Empire, we see echoes of its story in the challenges and opportunities faced by societies throughout history. The balance between liberty and order, the integration of diverse peoples, the management of vast resources and distant frontiers, these are issues as relevant today as they were 2 millennia ago. In the end, the Roman Empire stands not only as a monument to past greatness, but as an enduring symbol, a testament to what is possible, and a cautionary tale of the perils of power. Its buildings may crumble, its legions long gone, but its spirit endures in the very foundations of the world we know.